I do find it incredulous when I hear that figure of 18 new jobs. And I do think for those members of the committee, who were there on the last day of hearings, you will recall the gentleman who came in who refuted those figures. And I think that's important to actually acknowledge. Howarth, when they, in their report, when they analysed the benefit of a convention centre, which I believe Auckland City Council want to have, I think the Labour Party want to have an international convention centre, we certainly do, said there would be an estimated increase of $85 million in tourism-related expenditure per year. Now, it's very hard to think that $85 million extra could be spent and only create 18 new jobs. When you think about the tourists that will come to Auckland City and to this nation, who will come for a conference or convention that may be 3 or 4 days but like to stay for 10 days or 2 weeks, and not just stay in Auckland but perhaps go to Rotorua, maybe down to Queenstown, certainly to Taranaki, and visit that beautiful place down there, they're going to be spending money. They're going to be spending money in cafes, in shops and retail centres. They're going to be needing transport. They're going to be needing accommodation. All of these spin-offs for our economy throughout our nation as we see extra people come into this nation. That's why in this purpose clause of the bill, sir, it says the overarching purpose of this Act is to provide economic benefits to New Zealanders. New Zealanders out there who work in tourism, hospitality, who are retailers in our nation. And, you know, it's quite easy just to become singularly focused on a few single issues. And let me just talk about why this is important, because we want to see employment grow in our nation. We're already seeing the lift happen, which is fantastic. I think New Zealanders can be encouraged that the financial stewardship of this government, going through 5 very difficult years, is starting to see some benefits roll through in our economies. 5 great years after 9 bad years. We're starting to see this economy fire. And, sir, what I think we need to understand is that it's hard decisions like this that can create employment opportunities that can better people. I want to just touch on a few points, sir, because the economic well-being of this country is very important to every single one of us. And I talked yesterday, and I want to raise it again, about the issue and the social harm of unemployment. And we need to understand, sir, that people who have unemployment, particularly long-term unemployment, struggle immensely, have very poor social outcomes, suffer depression, loss of confidence, poor health, and can become suicidal. Let's not negate that. Let's not just ignore that, because unemployment is an issue that we want to address in this country. Sir, as I read yesterday, let me read it again. The Policy Quarterly, November 2010, where from Auckland University, Claire Mills said in her article, "Health, Employment and Recession. Increasing unemployment is associated with a wide range of adverse social outcomes, particularly when prolonged." What has this got to do with the bill? Because this bill is about the economic development and growth of this nation. And it's about job creation, far more than the 18 that these people on the other side keep parroting on about. It's hard to think that you could have $85 million come into a country per year and you've got 18 jobs out of that. Come on, use your common sense. Realise that it's going to feed through our economy, that we're going to see people all over this nation who are going to receive benefit. Sir, but it's also important to see in Part 1, A3, that point there, if you see in the bill underlined, where it's stated in the purpose and outline of the bill that there is an imposition of obligations on Sky City to adopt certain harm minimisation and anti-money laundering mechanisms. And that is not a sop. In fact, there are people in Australia and New Zealand who are the experts on this, Mr. Chair,
Jonathan Young.
Who are the experts on this field, who say that this obligation placed upon Sky City creates an opportunity to address some of the harm by having new technologies and new tools available to mitigate and address the harm issues. We need to also understand that when you look at the issue of harm regarding pokies in particular, that 70% of the harm happens outside of casinos. And there's a huge amount of gambling that takes place with online gambling that has no surveillance, has no support for people who get hooked up in that. And so what we see here is the development of some technologies and some tools that, as they develop and are brought to bear on the situation, that can bring some recognition of harm and bring some result of being able to address these issues that I think all of us don't want to see happen regarding when it comes to harm in people's lives. So, sir, as we come to this outline here, once again, I say, sir, that one of the big issues in our country that we want to overcome is unemployment, and we must have steps that are going to create economic activity and growth. And I believe that we can get the balance right in this. It's a difficult balance, but we can get it right, and we can ensure that people come through this and get employment and get work in the construction, hospitality, tourism, retailing areas in our society. Thank you, sir.
Dr. David Clark.